So our next speaker changed Hamlet, because Shakespeare wrote to be or not to be, and Dr. Michael Lemke said it should have been to trust or not to trust.
Exactly, yeah.
And especially in the context of data security and the massive amount of data that we're changing between machines and machines. So, I call you Shakespeare from now on?
No, please not.
Okay, please not.
I would not
Michael,
be able to
the
level up.
stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasure again to be here after, I think it's the third or fourth time, maybe, my personal contribution to this event. I out myself as a real Dresden alumni. I've been living 10 years in Dresden. I love the city. Yeah, when I walk Bautzner Straße, those houses are incredible. They are nowhere in Germany, and I've been living in many parts of Germany and working in many parts. So I would love to invite you to give you, under this a little bit strange title, Security in Mobile Networks, a kind of command. Why a command? We are, maybe the one or the other knows, we are in the middle of this execution of the so-called ITSIC 2.0. We are there because ITSIC 2.0 has been, let's say, developed in order to provide, let's say, the technical trust fundament for the future digitalization. So what I'm going to share with you is maybe a little insight. What does the mobile industry, has the mobile industry been doing? What happened in the past? What's going to happen in the future? And of course, you will allow me, because I'm from Huawei, I will give a comment, what is Huawei doing in this regard? So starting with that, it's all about trust. It's almost borrowed from Clinton, it's all about business. Fortunately, it seems to, let's say, resonate and connect to each other, because any engagement we enter into is an investment into trust. If you buy something, then you buy a value and you trust you get the value. If you connect to your network, you trust that this network is safe, it's secure, that there are no data leakages, that the data are not misused. Malik made just a very bold statement. We don't value or we don't earn on customer data, which is a bold statement. So if you like, in all our, let's say, one of the fundamentals which we may tend in our daily business to forget a little bit about, it's trust fundament. We live in the society, by the way, from this mutual recognized and expected trust. So Kenneth Arrow, very smart statement. So if you look to the future, which we, where we all share maybe this vision, and each and any company and each and any enterprise will have its own, let's say, picture for it. What you see is a funnel. We see several revolutions, industrial revolutions. We see the red line on top, which is going along the communication technologies. We see the fundament down below, which is the energy and how we generate energy, and that we all understand that this is going to merge and is absolutely interwoven with each other. We won't have the energy transformation without a trustful communication layer. And in turn, we also had a long talk before, although Malik was referring to it. The energy consumption of this communication, of course, is an optimization point which has to be taken care for. And funnily enough, this is exactly also in the very center of the ongoing actions at the moment in Germany implementing this security law. So what we see is that this entire funnel relies on security, trust, and resilience. And we will not generate the technology absorption, nice term from Malik, by the public if we don't generate the trust along this chain. If we cannot deliver as industry the message, guys, everything is okay, we have it under control, it's safe. And now we come to the pillars of this trust generation that are technical pillars. They are common standards, verification, facts, and then trust. And it reads like a little comment on some of the media heat which we see at the moment. Coming back to the mobile networks, we have been talking about that. My little anecdote, 2G couple of 2 months ago, in '92, I was the one who has been, let's say, being responsible for the software production of the first digital fax over the air demonstration in a Berlin ETSI meeting. So I have all this 30 years also in mind, and here again the 30 years resonate. It's an ongoing evolution. What we should not forget, it is one of a corporate effort, collaborative effort. The world has been working together. The world collected its brains. Of course, under certain competitive frame conditions. Of course, under certain interest defense. But all the people have been working together, collaborative. And we have now this situation that we speeded up from 0.7, so we had how many? 8 days was it, transfer time? Yeah? So I remember the fax went with 9.6 kilobit per second. Yeah? So we are now on the right side, we are talking about this 1 to 10 gigabit per second and peak and going on. So it is unprecedented. And this is another message, if you have that, you carefully think about how you tinker with it. Another comment, maybe, to the ongoing discussions. So where we are at the moment, 5G is that technology which proliferates, wrong term, I just use it for fun, yeah, the fastest. So the transition, so 4G had a certain lead time before it achieved certain penetrations. You see this subscriber 1 billion to 0.5 billion. So we know that 5G seems to be one of those technologies which is implementing or establishing a certain optimum already for the current demands. What we see, this is only here the 2C business at the moment. We know that the 2B business is somehow, and this is also part of the geographical distribution, it's somehow a little bit in its infancy here in Germany. In the home market of my company, it looks a little bit different. There we talk about several of thousands of professional users of 5G or, let's say, vertical users or industry users. But again, it is a mature, fast-developing technology. Now let's have a look and switch over to a kind of security. So you may know that there is this ENISA organization on Europe level. They take care that they establish, that they look that the operators, it's a procedure that they have to report their incidents. If you now look to this incidence statistics, unfortunately it's only 2021. I figured that they give an annual report always middle of the year. This time, middle of the year is not yet achieved, so I cannot give a 2022 figure yet. But what you see is incident severity is declining. The number of incidents is flat, and that despite the fact that we have, since many years, increasing smartphones, so that means the ones with the most open platform characteristics, technology platform characteristics, and we still have a flat incidence curve. So what could we conclude from that? Telecom is doing, obviously, somehow good. Not perfect, nobody is perfect, 100% do not exist. We should really learn, we as technicians, as engineers, as business-driven people, we should understand and propagate and talk about the 100% is a wishful thinking, and if you strive for 100%, you may fail to achieve the optimum target. So why do I say so? Because in this, let's say, understanding of security regulations, there is some understanding of 100%, in particular with regard to national security thinking, which is, we know, physically not feasible, and which should be tailored or balanced according to the real risks. So, what is industry doing on this technology, and how is industry improving? So you see just the pillars, improvements of some of the areas where 4G and 5G differ with regard to the technology capabilities. So for instance, no plain text transmission of IMSI any longer. So the Merkel scenario would be not feasible with 5G any longer. Or we see, for instance, the plain text transmission of roaming subscriber data. So we recently got, via the associations in Germany, the request, please talk about the number 7 vulnerability and the number 7, let's say, attack. vector for intruding networks. So the industry knows it, the industry addresses it, the industry suggests solutions. Yeah, I cannot work without verification. But in the world where we live in, the security verification is an expensive, painstaking, and slow and long-running process. So we need, in order to improve the, let's say, the verification ratio of telco technologies, 5G in particular, we need acceleration, we need improvement, we need adoption to the point. So this is what the industry did. GSMA, so this is the association of the operators and the suppliers, with the support of the suppliers, they invented a scheme, called it NESAS. And all our technical partners, our technical customers where we talk to, they would know it. And then they would accept, yes, there might be a good idea to have this scheme, a new scheme developed. And maybe as an important message, in the German market, who is in particular sensitive to security questions and always reserves an, let's say, additional right to talk about security, have an additional interest, the BSI, fortunately, adopted this scheme. So this scheme is now the fundament to provide the technical proof, technical verification for secure products and secure networks. And of course, since operation of networks is painstaking, Malik did not talk about, he was more on this forward-looking front, but his good team has to organize this good network operation. And in order to learn, the industry puts together its efforts, takes the best common practices from the different areas, not at least starting from NIST, so a US-American standardization organization, the European landscape, the 3GPP, and put it together as a guide how to organize secure network operation. And it's a pity, I said, the telecom industry is the best one, it's the best conditioned one for communication, security, and safety for decades, but still sees room for improvement and provides it. And it's now and recently complemented these efforts by the 5G secure control matrix, and of course complementing and being the fundament of the secure network obligations which we have to implement here in Germany, coming from BNetzA and based on BSI fundamental Grundschutz. So now we come close the line again. To trust or not to trust, now we are where we wanted to be. Yeah? And of course, I talk about now Huawei. What you see here is our development process. Security by design, security by process. And I would love I don't go to the details. It would be boring and would explode my time. I have not the time for that. But what you should understand, it's the collection of the best common practices across the industry. So the industry works and knows it for years and works it together for decades to provide such fundament of best software development principles, best tools for checking on software, on potential lags and vulnerabilities, and that all in a collective effort. And of course, in order to generate more trust, you need also transparency. So I just tell you, the industry and we, amongst all the others, we are transparent. So there are centers, this is a display of Huawei, that you can go. I invite you to go to Brussels to have a look how it looks like. How does a development process look like? How does a verification internally looks like? How does a recommendation schedule or a workshop looks like on security? And of course, this has no value at all if I don't let it prove by third parties. This is just a list of the certificates which we collected along all products, along all internal processes, along all standardization infused and, let's say, indicated by lots of security standards. So, and now, of course, we need to step back. we have been talking about this NESAs, and then of course we should deliver a statement, what are we doing in that? Yeah, so here's just the list. You will not be completely aware about the details. I can just tell you this very detailed list is just what's going on in Germany, cutting edge at the moment, with regard to proof that the products we deliver, that the solutions or the network operations the industry established in Germany can be trusted. It's safe, it's technically safe. There's no reason for mistrust. There is no reason and no evidence for something which is, I don't know for which reason, or I don't want to discuss the reasons, but it's been alleged. So we come to this statement. For us, security is a kind of joint responsibility. We are all in it: governments, the businesses, citizens, standard organizations, service providers, operators, ICT suppliers, and we have to work together to allow the let's say, well-supported absorption of the technology without fears, without concerns, without, let's say, allegations, in order to achieve what we are looking for. Provide the message, you can trust the industry. The industry knows what it does. Thank you. I'm a little bit too fast. 4 minutes left. I gave room for questions. It's my own fault, huh?
Yeah, it's your fault. Maybe it's your fault. The first one.
Yeah, thank you very much for the trust issue. Mike Diekmann from VNG. I think one thing that is not to be trusted is the current warfare or the arms race that's going on in the military and the services, secret services, I would say. And that's at least a player that I didn't hear you mentioning, because their aim is to break your security barriers for the purposes. So I would wish to have a no-spy agreement internationally, because that would have trust back on the agenda. But at least my feeling is that mistrust is all over the place at the moment. So I think you said your last sentence, the industry is doing all they can, but there's other players out there that are currently not helping the trust, and that's for us a big issue that we should also address, that no spy agreements should be maybe top of the agenda, because that's other players than the industry.
Thank you for the comment. So I bear in mind, let's say, at least 5 years of discussions about also the genesis of the law, and the discussion in Germany, and no spy agreements were, of course, some point in time discussed. However, we are an industry entity. We could suggest, but we cannot drive neither of the governments to agree upon. So I have to admit the limits of our own, let's say, responsibility. What we can do, what we can master, what we can control. So we have a limit of control. We can control ourselves. And from that perspective, of course, we are also willing, if a customer asks for, to talk what is necessary to talk. But our relationships are the customers. And that's why I start also when you are 10, 15, 20 years. We are 20 years now in Europe. 20 years you are here. And you are always constantly bought back. So then the trust fundamentals of mutual win-win, coherence in behavior, reliability, they are all seem to be implicitly fulfilled by this situation. So we are part. When I was listening to Malik also about mobile strategy, 6,000, 3,000 white spots, sharing. We are part, of course, of the solution discussions. We know that all. So we are responsible, and we are also acknowledged as that. So this is really, that's why I brought it up. I made it by purpose a little bit in saying the industry. because this is also our fundament for the future. Yeah? The future will be a kind of economy which is driven by market principles, whatever. So we rely, and we should always say, guys, the own interest, let's say the intrinsic interest of partners in the market, there is no stronger incentive. And this strong incentive should be respected. This is a little bit a message. I could talk endlessly about it, I don't want.
Okay. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is coffee break. And it takes him... Thank you. And it takes him 35 minutes. 35 minutes, we'll be back then. And you've been welcomed by Bernd Theis, one of our colleagues. And he's going to guide you through the next slots. Thank you.